Toronto Zoo, our mission is to connect people, animals, and conservation science to fight extinction. Today we're excited to share with you our Reproductive Sciences Department, or at least one aspect of our Reproductive Sciences Department. I'm standing here in our endocrinology lab. This is where we measure hormones. Endocrinology is the study of hormones. And we do that for a variety of our animals here on site. And we also receive samples from all around the world for different zoos or government organizations monitoring wild populations that are interested in hormone analysis. So what kind of things can we do with this kind of data, or why would people be interested in hormones? Most of what we do here at the Toronto Zoo is monitor reproductive hormones. So we're looking at estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. Those are the big ones. Estrogen and progesterone for females. Estrogen in particular, we're looking at cycles, so we might be monitoring a female to see if she is cycling normally, and we would do this to see that she doesn't have any health abnormalities, or also if we're looking at doing an introduction, a timed introduction, because not all of our animals live together in harmony, males and females. Sometimes they can only come together during the breeding season, or when the female is receptive to having the male housed with her. Otherwise, they might get into a bit of a spat. The progesterone is a very important pregnancy hormone, and we monitor progesterone in our animals when we're looking at diagnosing pregnancies. If the keepers have recently observed any breeding with our animals, they're very attuned to their animals and watching constantly and making sure that everything is going well with them. And if they happen to see a breeding moment, then they might send us some fecals or some samples to start doing hormone analysis. And then the testosterone, again, that would be for the males predominantly, and we're looking to see that they also are producing testosterone at the appropriate times. And this might have to do with seasonality, so there may be times in the year when certain species produce testosterone and only at that time of the year, and we want to make sure that that's happening. And we can also tell if an animal has reached sexual maturity or not. So those are just some of the reasons why we would look at reproductive hormones. We also do another subset of hormones related to stress, glucocorticoids or cortisol hormones, you might more commonly know them as, related to stress. And again, that's looking at animals' well-being, monitoring populations in the wild and in captivity as well. It's just one of the tools that we can, again, offer here. So how do we measure these hormones? Well, there are a variety of different ways we can do that. Probably what you'd be most familiar with are blood draws. So when you go to the doctor, they would take a blood sample from you, and they can measure hormones from your blood. And we can certainly do that here, but with a lot of our animals, that would be a really invasive thing to do a regular blood draw from them. And some of our animals are just not as willing to participate in that type of activity, as I also don't love going to the doctor for needles. So for those animals, we use what are called non-invasive samples, and that would be fecals, urine. For some hormones, we can do saliva, we can do hair. When we're monitoring populations predominantly for glucocorticoid analysis in that circumstance. Most of the work that we do here at the zoo is on feces. So it's one of those great things that it's not used, the animal would be happy to have it taken out of the exhibit and to have it go away, and it's not used for anything else, but we can actually glean quite a bit of value and quite a bit of information from the fecal samples. So I'm going to show you one of our freezers here where we store a few of them. We actually have quite a number of freezers here in the department to store some of them. So down here, these are some bags of fecals that have come in from some other places. I'm going to grab out this one in particular and show you. So this is one of our animals on site that you might have heard about already. There was a Facebook Live, I think a couple of Facebook Lives done on this one, this animal in particular. This is our giraffe, Mistari. And as you know, you've seen that she's pregnant. We're waiting for a baby to come. How did we know that we were going to have a baby? Well, the keepers noticed that she was breeding the male back in January of 2019. So they sent us some fecal samples to see if we could positively diagnose if she had actually bred and if she was pregnant. So they started collecting fecal samples for us, and this is an example of one of the fecals here that I took out of this bag here. So every day the keepers will go out and collect the feces for us and bag it. They put the date on it and they store it. We store it at -20, and then they bring batches of the fecal samples to us. From there, we take just a small amount of the feces and we put it into a methanol extraction. So it would be in a vial kind of similar to this size. and the methanol will pull the hormones out from the fecal matter itself. We remove the fecal matter out, and we just take the liquid, and we use that to put onto an antibody-based assay. It's called an ELISA, or an EIA, so enzyme immunoassay, and it ends up on a plate very similar to this. So you can see on this plate, across the plate, that there are different color intensities of that green, and that intensity is really important. It tells us how much of the hormone that we're interested in is in that sample. So if the sample is really, really dark, it actually inversely means there isn't that much hormone in it. And if the sample is really light, then there's quite a bit of hormone in there. And we can appreciate that there are color differences on this plate just with the naked eye. We can see that. But we actually take that plate and we put it into a spectrophotometer. So we have two of them here. This is our newest one. This is one that's about to be retired. But we run it through our spectrophotometer here, and it uses the wavelength. So it just basically looks at the intensity and gives it a number from very low to very high. And we take those numbers and we plot them out on a graph. I'm going to show you the graph from Mistari. So remember I said that progesterone is the important pregnancy hormone? So this is the chart, this is the chart from Mistari here for her progesterone. So this is before she was bred. The keepers were giving us fecals, and we were monitoring her cycles. You can see she had some really nice cycles. These are the observed breeding dates back in 2019. And when we continued to monitor her progesterone, you can see it went up and remained elevated. So that elevated progesterone is extremely important in maintaining a viable pregnancy. So as soon as we saw this part go up and it maintained the high levels, we were able to tell the keepers and our veterinarian staff, our nutrition staff, that we do indeed have a pregnant giraffe. And that kind of data is really important because the birth of a baby giraffe is not an insignificant event. They're a big animal. They're a big charismatic animal. So it's important for us to make sure that we know that animal is coming, that we can make space for that animal. It's important that we tell the vets so that they may reconsider certain procedures, and also so that they can monitor her a little bit more closely. We tell nutrition because they need to know if they need to adjust the diet in any way for her. So all of that kind of data is really important, and that's why we would do that kind of stuff here. So this is just one example of what we do. If we're doing another animal where there are multiple animals in that exhibit, like our wolves, if we wanted to monitor just one or two animals out of the whole pack, then we use something called fecal markers, or in this case, it's glitter. So these are non-toxic glitter that children would use for crafts. So we take like a little ball or a treat that the animal's really interested in. We put a little bit of this glitter in it and give just that one animal that individual treat with that color. So this would be for one animal, this would be for a second animal. We can give them different colors, and that animal, when it poops, the sparkles will show up. We don't have it in Mistari's, but the sparkles will show up in the feces and indicate to the keepers where that fecal came from, because they would all be out in the paddock together, defecating in the same area. So this helps us to identify which belongs to who. Kind of some interesting facts on that. So some of the stuff, the information that we've learned from doing this hormone analysis, one was the Mistari, the giraffe, the sort of interesting data that we have from her. We've been able to diagnose pregnancies in a variety of different animals here at the zoo, and that's the main function that we do through with our zoo animal, the main thing that we offer for our zoo. And we've been able to help for some government organizations to look at population dynamics. So how many females do they have in a population versus how many males? And that helps them for herd management and the like. So I hope that that you found that interesting and got a little bit of glimpse of what we do in the reproductive physiology department, this one aspect that we do in endocrinology. And I know that everybody's really looking forward to seeing you again when we are able to open the gates and allow you back in again. We're really looking forward to it. The animals are probably very much looking forward to it. And I hope you are staying well and safe at home.